First of all, I want to say you sorry. The midnight, I have some questions to you, so I will disturb you. So please don't mind it. Can you help me in this time?
I'm always here to help, even if it's the middle of the night. Go ahead, ask me whatever's on your mind.
So basically, I want to present some conversation with you and me in the field of electronics. So you have to explain me the whole information about electronics, and I will ask some questions step by step, and you have to answer of these questions. So are you ready? So basically, I am a student and I have no knowledge about electronics. So how you can explain me what is electronics?
No worries, let's start simple. Electronics is all about controlling the flow of tiny electric currents to make devices do things like power your phone, run a computer, or even let you listen to music. We use components like resistors, capacitors, and transistors to shape and guide that current. So what's your next curiosity?
I can't understand what you want to say. Can you explain me what you say?
Of course, in simpler words, electronics is about using electricity to do useful things. Imagine tiny electric currents flowing like water in pipes. We use different tools, like switches or parts, to guide and control that flow, making lights glow, sounds play, or machines run. We build everything from phones to computers using these little flows of electricity.
Okay. So next question, can a human being grow up without electronics?
In today's world, it would be really tough. Electronics are everywhere, from lights, phones, and computers to things like medical devices or even the internet. While humans existed before electronics, our modern life, education, jobs, communication relies on them. So while it's possible, it would be a much simpler and more challenging life without them.
Okay. You say the electronics is the most important part in our daily life. So I want to learn electronics from you. So how I can start from zero?
I love that you're ready to dive in. Starting from zero, you'll want to begin with the basics. First, learn about simple concepts, what current, voltage, and resistance are. You can start with introductory online courses or even beginner-friendly books. Then, you can experiment with basic circuits, things like lighting up an LED. Once you grasp those fundamentals, you can move on to components like resistors, capacitors, and transistors. The key is step-by-step learning, and I'm happy to guide you through each part.
Okay. So if I have some knowledge about some electronics components that you say like resistor, capacitor, transistor, diodes, how I will make a gadget to use these types of components?
Once you know your components, you'd start by designing a simple circuit. First, figure out what you want the gadget to do, like light up when you press a button. Then you plan a circuit diagram showing how the components connect. Next, you build it on something called a breadboard. No soldering needed. Once you test that it works, you can make it more permanent by soldering it onto a board. As you get comfortable, you could even use microcontrollers, like an Arduino, to program more complex behaviors. It's like building with tiny electric building blocks.
Hey, wait. What you say Arduino? I have no knowledge about Arduino. Really, I have no knowledge about Arduino. Can you explain me what is Arduino from zero?
Absolutely. Arduino is a super beginner-friendly little computer board. Think of it like a tiny brain you can program to control electronics. You write simple instructions on your computer, like turn on a light when you press a button, and then upload them to the Arduino. Once uploaded, it can run your code and control things like lights, motors, or sensors. It's a great way to bring your electronics projects to life with a bit of coding.
Okay. So basically you want to say if I want to make a gadget, I have to use breadboard or Arduino. So without breadboard and without Arduino, can I make up small electronics projects?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to use an Arduino or even a breadboard. You can create circuits just with basic components and wires, like in the old days. You'd plan your circuit on paper, then connect components directly, either by soldering them onto a board or twisting wires together. Breadboards just make it easier to test and rearrange things, and Arduinos are helpful when you want to add logic or programming. But pure simple electronics, like sound sensors, can all be done without them.
You say programming. So programming is needed in the field of electronics. I want to know how I connect programming in electronics, and what types of programming language I have to know to make some projects in
So programming lets you add brains to your electronics. Instead of just a simple circuit turning on a light, programming lets you make decisions like blinking the light, reacting to sensors, or running a motor on command. Common languages in electronics are C or C++, especially for microcontrollers like Arduino. But for more advanced boards like a Raspberry Pi, you might use Python. In short, you write code, upload it to a little controller, and it runs your electronic project exactly how you want.
Okay. So you say programming is the most fundamental in the field of electronics to make some important gadgets. So I want to know, I have no knowledge about programming, so what types of coding language I have to know first?
If you're starting fresh, I'd suggest beginning with something simple. For microcontroller projects, C or a simplified version of C is common, especially for Arduino. If you want something even easier to read and write, Python is a great choice, especially if you move toward Raspberry Pi or other platforms. Once you've got the basics of either language, you'll be able to bring your electronics to life step by step.
So electronics components are physical parts and programming in a software part. So how I will connect the physical component by ordering the programming. So programming is the software part and the components are physical parts. So how I will connect these two?
You connect them through a microcontroller, like Arduino. The microcontroller is a little device that sits between your code and your components. You write your program, telling it what to do, like turn a light on. Then you upload that program into the microcontroller. The microcontroller has pins, like little connectors, that you attach to your physical components, like LEDs or motors. Your code runs on the microcontroller, and it controls the connected components, making them act based on the instructions you wrote. So the microcontroller is the bridge.
So can you explain me what is microcontroller?
A microcontroller is like a tiny, simple computer on a single chip. It's got a processor, memory, and input-output pins. You give it instructions, your code, and it follows them to control other electronics. So for example, you write code telling it, when I press a button, turn on a light. The microcontroller watches for that button press and then controls the light. It's the brain that connects the physical world, your components, with the logical world, your code.
Okay. Thanks for giving me some information about this. So want some more information about electronics? So please help me later, okay?
Of course, I'm always here whenever you want to dig deeper. Just come back with your questions and we'll keep building your electronics journey step by step. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Good night.
You're welcome. Have a great night. Goodbye.